Hi, everybody. Rich Gibbons with SpeakInc, and today we are here with the one and only Ryan Estis. Ryan,
Hey, Rich.
good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you.
Ryan just finished up, like 15, 20 minutes ago. We are here for a real estate conference, and I'm at the back of the room. And you know that you go to a concert, you go to a movie, and you come back and you tell your friends, like, that was unbelievable. That was so good. And then they say, well, what was it? What was it about the movie that made it unbelievable? And it can be a little bit hard to articulate.
Sure.
You've
I
experienced
get
that.
no, I get it. Yeah.
So I'm at the back of the room and I'm thinking, well, it's my job to be able to, I have to be able to articulate to somebody, we're like, well, what's Ryan all about? And there were three things about your program that I wanted to get your take on. First off, for those that haven't seen or heard Ryan tell a story, he's the best in the business. Nobody tells a story. I love to tell a story, and you got me covered hands down.
Thank you.
You look like you're having so much fun with the cadence, the timing. You also, and there's this thing, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but you blend a balance of poignancy, touching the heart, with humor, and then something for them to think about.
That is intentional. Yeah.
Like most of what you do, it's intentional. Right?
Yeah. I try and balance relevance with emotional resonance.
Right.
And so, storytelling with an insight that then they can leverage and take back to their business. I find that when people are inspired or they're moved emotionally, they're more resolute in making change.
Right.
And I want beyond just the hour being meaningful, I want it to actually reverberate when they get back to the business.
Right.
I think about that a lot.
Right.
And so that's sort of the structure in the designs.
Right. And that happens when it hits their heart.
That's exactly right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the other thing that, in our line of work, every now and again, depends on the customer, but every now and again, we hear the phrase, this talk needs to be built from the ground up. And, you're thinking and I'm thinking, no, it doesn't. Like, that's not what you want. And there's a reason why, whether it's Chris Rock, any of these huge comedians that will perform at 15,000 people at the Civic Center.
Right.
When they try out new material, they don't do it there.
No,
they do it at the Chuckle Hut in Wichita, right, in front of like 23 people.
That's exactly right.
They shake it down, and so the other thing that is like, well, what makes Ryan's program so amazing? The other thing is that you have this blend. It's a really cool balance of, it's like the Christmas tree, the trunk, and the main branches are made of hardwood. And then everything else on the outside, like I've seen Ryan in front of manufacturing groups, business services groups. Today it was real estate. I've seen him in front of a half dozen different industries. And what's amazing is how you are like naturally inquisitive and curious about that business. And then you blend all that, like, Tell the people out in the inner tubes about your real estate experience, and you had footage. It was amazing.
Yeah, look, I think one of the things we emphasize is we do bring a high degree of customization. So I never give the same keynote twice, and that's real. Right. And you saw it today. And so, ethnography is the practice of studying someone or a group of people in their own culture.
I learned that word from Ryan.
Yeah, and we bring that into this work. So, I started this talk by talking about the coffee I had 3 months ago with one of their top franchisors or licensing partners in Minneapolis, Jeff. And so that began the structure. It was the stakeholder insight, his insight, my own due diligence, packaging up my own stories, looking at adjacency stories that they could learn from outside real estate, but it still had relevant insight from financial advisors or management consulting.
Right.
So the structure from the ground up, there are insights that I think can transfer into some of these keynotes, and some of the stories can, but I really invest the time and energy, to your point, of getting to know that client and presenting where they're at for their own needs.
Yeah. And it's, there are speakers out there, and I don't mean this in a denigrating way, but there are speakers out there where, I saw them 12, 18 months ago, and you get to the end of the 45 minutes or an hour, and like, that was exactly what they did a year ago. And the cool thing about when Ryan is introduced, I'm a professional embedded in the lecture circuit, and I'm leaning forward like,
where's this going to go?
I wonder what Ryan's going to bring. And for
Yeah.
somebody who is doing as much work and as many dates as you are, that's really, for those out on the interwebs, in this world, it's pretty unique. I've been doing this 34
Thank
years,
you.
and I've seen a lot of stripes. And for you to be able to do that and blending in those personal experiences with the Christmas tree trunk and the backbone. So you have the backbone, and then you backfill with all that stuff. And it kind of, at the risk of sounding a little treacly, it looks like you're having fun when you do it.
I am. I mean, I sort of am lost in the experience. When
Yeah.
you're connecting with the audience. If you notice too, I even said, turn the lights up a little bit because I wanted to see them. I want
Right.
that connection. I'll even come off the stage and into the audience.
Right.
It's the shared experience, and I want to make it interactive so they can participate and they're learning and we're exchanging and
Right.
they feel free to applaud or yell something out. And
Yeah.
so there's an energy in the room that's transferred. And I love those experiences.
Yeah.
I want to create an impact. I
Right.
want it to land and resonate and matter. And that's sort of, I think why we're called to do this work.
Yeah. Well, it's very evident, and there's that notion. I say it a lot when the talent on the platform is relaxed and comfortable, the audience is relaxed and comfortable.
Yeah.
And because it's not unique to you, but I think you are very emblematic of the quality of having so much mastery in your space that you have a lot of free working memory. The processor has a lot of horsepower
Yeah.
to absorb and form that chemistry real time with the audience. And it also allows you to be super, super present. Like when you were getting back up on the riser, and I don't know if you had a close call with the metal handrail on the stairs, but you said something about your suit.
Yeah, I don't want to rip my pants. I got to be careful. And as I'm getting back up on the stage, I might be too old for stage dives, but hey.
It was very present, and there are those, when you look in the amateur community and like, oh yeah, you need to give this presentation to 500 or people, and there's that like deer in the headlights, heart is going 20 beats a minute more, and you're going 93 miles an hour. You don't have any bandwidth to spare, and you just have loads of it. It just makes you super, super present.
I feel like, there may have been 1,000 people or whatever it was, but I'm trying to have, a conversation at a time over an hour. It's connecting in that way.
Right.
And so, and I'll even call it out. The woman would applause. I said, you don't have to hold that in. You can, so
it's healthy for you to let that out.
It's really unhealthy if you feel like you're going to applaud and you don't.
Right.
And so we create those fun little moments of connection, or it's looking you in the eye and nodding, or telling part of the story and moving around. And I actually find that keeps me in the moment, and it allows me to connect in an authentic way.
Right. One of my favorite books is Stephen King on writing, and he talks about, rather than writing whatever your content is, obviously with a letter you're writing to someone, but if you're writing fiction or you're writing sort of a story, you're telling it to someone. He calls that person the ideal reader. Who is your ideal reader? Have that person in mind as you're writing. And for you, that ideal listener is the woman in the red dress, row 3, or the guy in the blue suit in row 4. And you're having that conversation.
Without question.
But that sort of that organic human connection is everybody else is listening.
Yeah.
Everybody in the room is listening to it.
And if I've spent time on the front end talking to them, understanding them. I sat in a coffee shop for 2 hours with Jeff. I know who he is, so I know who she is.
Right.
I know where they are. I know what their challenges are. I know what they're working on. And then, I was there all day. I sat in on every presentation. I could refer back to what Stuart said or what Paul said or how the panel moved through a piece of content and reconnect it and wrap it up with mine. So, that's part of the process of actually then when the moment comes, I can just be relaxed and present.
Yes.
I've done the work.
Yes. And there are hundreds of thousands of examples in the natural world where you have one little strand of connection, and if you apply force to it, it just snaps. But if you have hundreds of these teeny little connections, it's sort of like the was it, Gulliver's Travels, where the giant is pinned down by the Lilliputians, like thousands of these little ropes that it's not a single connection. And I think for you, when you sit there, you have the experience with the brand, you have experience with executive leadership, and then and you know, a lot of speakers talk about it. They don't necessarily do it. And you were in there at 1 o'clock. You didn't go on till 4.
Right.
And you absorbed all of that content, and then you're able to make callbacks. It's contextual, so you understand how is this piece of content going to blend in and either echo, align with what I just heard 2-3 hours ago.
Yeah, I consider that's part of my job, because if I invest in that opportunity, and I joked about it, but I had a bunch of pages of notes because I was back there, and what ends up happening is it feels like it was only their presentation. Right. Because it was.
Right.
And
exactly.
all the way back to 3 months ago with Jeff, and sitting in there and referencing what Paul said, or how Stuart started with resilience, and all of that orientation enables me to serve them a better way.
Right. And you talked a great deal, and this was a luxury real estate brand, and they talked a lot about the one-on-one nature of a very high-end relationship, and how it has to be tailored and customized. And there are some presenters out there who talk about tailoring and customization. And I'm at the end of their talk, and I'm thinking, that could have been delivered to Merck or Bank of America or ExxonMobil, and you really didn't have to change much of anything. If you delivered this talk today to any one of those other companies,
I couldn't.
It would be absurd. It wouldn't.
I couldn't.
Yeah,
I mean, that talk is for one category, and it was really oriented toward this particular brand.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think the other thing is, you know, I consider myself a business expert who speaks. You know, I write, I do research, I publish. You know, I'm not a life story speaker, although Orion's story may find its way in as it did when during the close.
Sure.
That's relevant. But you know, I'm a student of these things, and then I have some body of work that I can teach, which is a little different than someone who really. And so I'm talking more about them and their opportunity and where they're going versus, you know, my story. Right.
And back to. It's a sort of a horse that I whip a lot, but the notion that, you know, Chris Rock or any of these, you know, Kevin Hart, they don't bust out new material in big venues where, you know, you've got to put it on target. It's like a non-negotiable, right? So the fact that you did go to the story with you and your brother is a funny story about running in a race, and there's some takeaways there, but the fact that tale, the story, the cadence, the words you use, the arc of the whole tale is shaken down is so important.
Yeah, I mean, you have to workshop that, right? It's in this work, I always say, you know, we get rewarded in public for the hard work we do alone in the dark. And that's really true.
Yes.
It is, you know, if you would have saw me up here last night, you'd have seen the work, rehearsing, tweaking a slide, reading over their material, listening to the discovery call playback. So it's all just in my mind in that moment. And then I can recall it all. I'm just comfortable.
Yeah. Well, it really comes across. There's never any sort of disjointed, you know, looking for the next thing. You just look like you have mastery over the content. So anybody that hasn't seen this guy, you got to check him out live. Really amazing experience. And I do, you know, my colleagues, my industry colleagues and I sit in a lot of these audiences, and every now and again, you can tell in sort of the body language and the response that you're looking around the room at the end and you're feeling like, this felt like a little bit of an obligatory standing O. It's like people kind of like slowly get up and they're clapping. Well, that guy got up, so I got to get up. But I could tell in the last 2, 3, 4 minutes, they were rooting for you. You had them in the palm of your hand, and when you were done,
you knew it was
thanked
coming.
them. Everybody just came out. It was a genuine standing O. So thanks for doing what you do.
Yeah, thanks for the collaboration and the partnership. I couldn't do it without you. It's really a team effort.
Well, my partners and colleagues love working with you because you always make us look so smart for recommending you. So
thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you. All right, well we'll see you on the next one. See you soon.